Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a brand new copy of Ghost Love Candy 2. It's one of the newer games coming from 25th Century Games. And for us, this game came in just the perfect time for us to enjoy it this month of October, but players will be controlling ghosts to travel through the neighborhood, and they will haunt kids and steal candy. Most of the time, players will want to haunt these kids, but not scare them completely, because doing that will give them some negative points during the game. And each player has their own craving card that lists all of the different types of candy and how many points they will get for each kind. And this is different from player to player, so players will still be competing to get candy out there, but players will most likely prefer certain types over others compared to what other players want. And the candy is placed face up in front of each player, so players will be able to tell what everyone most likely wants. Anyways, let's get right into how the game plays. There are 6 kid cards out at a time, and each with their own ability that can be triggered when you decide to haunt them. Each kid also gets a new piece of candy at the beginning of each round, and there are 6 types of candy in the game, and also some junk like rocks, toothbrushes, or spiders. This junk is all worth -1 point each at the end of the game, so not good. But if it's placed with other candy worth maybe 5 or 4 points, then it might be worth getting as well with that other candy. So each player has a hand of cards matching their color of ghost characters. There's a lot of them in this game, so pick which one you want. Each card has a number of 1 through 9, and players will use a card each round, and once it's used, the card will be gone for the rest of the game. So there are 9 rounds in a game, and when all players have no cards left, then the game is over. Each round begins with each player choosing one of their cards to play for the round and placing it face down till all the other players are ready. Now, high numbers will go first, but will add to a stronger haunting, which could cause that player to scare a kid, which is not what you want to do. While low numbers will go later in the round, so you might not be able to steal the candy that you want, but you have less of a chance to cause trouble with those kids. After all players have chosen a card, all players will flip it over, and the player that has the highest number will go first. First, you will choose a kid to haunt, and you will place your card under that kid's card. That player then steals all the candy above that kid card. Remember, each candy is worth a different amount of points for each player according to their craving card, so visit that frequently and know which candy you really want. After taking the candy, the player can resolve the ability on the kid card that they are haunting. Most of these abilities are triggered immediately, but some have icons on the top left corner of their card and can trigger later in the game. These abilities can really change things up, so they are fun to read and use during the game. They are great. I'd recommend whenever a new kid comes out, or even at the beginning of the game, that each player should read all the abilities and see what the abilities can do and what it will change in your game. Lastly, you will check to see if that kid got scared. Not all haunts will cause the kid to be scared, but will increase the chance of it later on in the game. Each kid has a number listed on its card. Whenever the value of all the ghosts below that kid card equals or exceeds the value, the kid becomes scared, and that card is given to the last player who haunted that kid. That player will possibly receive -2 points shown at the bottom right of the card, but some of these cards will have abilities that will give players points for scaring the kid. So again, remember to read the kid cards to know which one it might be. Whenever a kid is scared and is removed and given to a player, a new card is immediately flipped over to fill its spot. And of course, that kid doesn't have any candy yet, but could still be played on for players who haven't taken their turn yet. After all players have gone for the round ends. Kids are only removed when they become scared, and all candy stay with the kids that were not haunted. A new round begins and new candy comes out. Each kid gets a new piece of candy, and if they receive junk, they will also get a piece of candy in addition to the junk. After new candy comes out, players will again choose cards to play, flip them over, highest card goes first to haunt the kid. Players can haunt the same kid or any other kid each round, and after 9 rounds, the game ends. Players score points for all of their candy that they stole following the points listed on their craving cards. Some kids who are left in the neighborhood at the end of the game will also have an in-game effect, so check for any of those kids that are left out. Then you will subtract or add points from the kids that you scared. Most have a -2 points shown on the bottom left of that card, but some are green and give you points if you complete the conditions on that card. The player with the most points wins the game, and ties are determined by whichever player has the most number of their 5-point candy. And well, that's Ghost Love Candy 2. It was definitely a very fun game for me and my kids right off the bat. I mean, for kids, I think they probably thought they were actually getting candy, which makes them definitely happy. They didn't even care that they didn't get to actually eat any of it. Well, I guess I did bring up some candy corn for them when we first played, but, still, they really enjoyed the game. So, why is the game good? Well, I think the design just really works. I think having different craving cards for players really helps to spread out what candy all the players want. And not knowing what others want makes the game feel less aggressive and less mean. So that part of the design I just absolutely love, because you're just getting what you want, not really caring what everyone else wants. The next part that makes the game great is the abilities listed on the kid cards. They are not even close to all the same. So abilities change the game and have fun and exciting abilities each time. And some might be exciting solely due to the state of the board, but other times they can really affect the game and cause some nice combos. They mix things up, and they are just changing things up. When we realized how awesome some of the abilities were, it really changed the game for us. And some of the abilities were nice to have when they were out, but as they stayed out and their candy stacks on that kid went up, players will eventually want all that candy, and they will go and haunt that kid, and that kid will go by. So that's the other thing that the design does well. With time, all older kids will become better and more focused on, so kid cards will soon frequently be exchanged, so new cards keep getting pumped in and out to always have new cards. Some cards have a scare value of 1, while others have a high scare value of 20. So that also gives a good mix of different cards coming in and out. Players will need to manage their cards to decide when they want to play the high number cards to get a good stack of candy, versus using a low number card to take a good kid ability without scaring that kid. This can become tricky as you only have the cards that you haven't used left at the end of the game. So like the last 3 cards or so, or the last 3 rounds, you have less choices and are stuck with the results from your earlier choices. Anyways, we have loved this game, and the kids will be asking to play it for a very long time. I already know that. And we'll always be teaching their friends how to play it as well. They just absolutely get it to the table almost every day now since we got it. So steal candy from the neighborhood kids without scaring them with your family and friends in Ghost Love Candy 2 by 25th Century Games. Again, this is Board Game Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.